Hello once more. Welcome back to another now recording. We're going back into the collection video now after the pickups video that I did for last week. We're still on B, and amazingly, this won't even be the last B. This is the third B video, and there's going to be one more after this, just for the sake of not having these videos each be a half an hour long. I don't want to do that to you guys. So we'll start with this one here. This is a Tony Bennett greatest hits album. And I know, of course, a couple of songs. I don't think he wrote Rags to Riches, Left My Heart in San Francisco. He might have written that. But this was actually, so one of my brothers and my brother-in-laws, not the one I mentioned in the last video who gave me that Lumineers record. Another one, he and his family purchased a house in Rhode Island a few years ago. And it was not this past Thanksgiving, but the one before, so 2014. He had finally gone up, like in the garage, there was some crawl space that he went up to. And he pulled out a box of records that were just sitting up there. And so on Thanksgiving, we went through them. And he just gave them to me. He didn't need them or want them or anything. A lot of them were crap, to be honest. But there were a few that were some Dylan, some Paul Simon, and stuff like that. And then some stuff like this. Like this was in there. So, Tony Bennett. It's not something I would probably buy, or pay full price for at a store or something like that or online. But it's a cool thing to have, especially if it's free. Here he is at probably Candlestick Park. What year did this come out? I don't know. This is some sort of like retrospective. I'm sure there's probably a million of these for Tony Bennett too. Does it say on there? Oh, maybe. Wow, my eyesight's bad. I don't know. It's probably from. It might be from the early 70s or something like that. But anyway, good thing to have. I mean, once in a while, throw something like Sinatra or something on is kind of or Tony Bennett is a nice change of pace. So that's where I picked that one up, was at the from my brother-in-law. He found it in his garage, which is kind of funny. The next one is Big Country, The Crossing. This was actually a kind of a gag birthday gift when I turned 30 from one of my friends, Matt. Big Country has the song In a Big Country, which is on here, which was a hit in the 80s. You see 83, this came out, which was covered by my introduction. I knew the original song, but my introduction to it was covered by the jam band Mo that was on their... what was it? The Wormwood, I think, that album, or maybe Dither. I don't remember. Anyway, there they are. Let's see. The sleeve actually has some illustrations to go along with their lyrics. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever put this on, to be honest, but I'm actually kind of coming around to that 80s sound, the 80s pop sound. So this might be something I should listen to. I forgot I honestly had it until I pulled it out. Yeah, this is something that I'll give a shot to. I don't know or recognize any of these other songs, but Steve Lillywhite produced it. He's a famous producer. So yeah, let's check that out. Okay, the next one is Big L, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. So I don't know, other than Beastie Boys, I don't know if we've come across any hip-hop in my collection yet. So I'm very much into rap and hip-hop, especially stuff from the 90s. I kind of went through a kick. I'm still going through a kick. I mean, it's not like over. But of tracking down a lot of the classic early 90s, mid-90s hip-hop records. I have a bunch of them. And this is one of them that I checked out. This is fairly recent purchase, maybe within the past 5-6 months. And, Big L was a rapper, there he is, pictured, who released this and was shot and killed shortly thereafter. I think he was robbed and killed in New York City, where he was from. And so... I really like, we're going to see in just a second, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Common. Well, I used to like some of Common stuff. Trying to think of other rappers, but anyway, like they would always mention Big L and shout out to Big L, like he was this, and they would always talk about him, and I was like, I should check that out. And it is really, really good. Put It On is great. That's the first song there. This came out in, let's see if it's focus. Well, this was released in 2010, this pressing, 1995. Much love to my family and to all people from uptown and all over. Sometimes there's like funny things in these. Not really. This is 2 records. So you see, so it's 4 sides, which sometimes for rap albums, I mean, I love having rap on vinyl, but when sometimes it's nice to just put it on and just kind of, no pun intended with the song there, and just kind of sit down and listen to it. And when you have to change it after 3 songs and 3 rap songs, which total you see here a shade over 10 minutes, you have to keep getting up. I mean, you want a side to be, 30 minutes would be nice, or at least 20 something minutes. But for rap albums, for a lot of times, they split up the songs like that, where there's a lot of record changes and side changes and stuff like that. This is a really, really, really good album. For anyone who's interested in kind of classic hip hop, because I just can't stand the stuff that's out there now, and I don't mean to sound. I mean, there's some people doing good stuff, but I mean the stuff on the radio, I just can't. I can't do it. So if you want to listen to something that's really, I mean, this is from this dude is legit. I mean, he's from the streets. He talks about it. And it's just another perspective. That's why I like rap a lot, is that I don't know what it's like to be from the inner city, so other than going there or meeting people who are from there or whatever. I mean, in terms of entertainment, this is a kind of an avenue to that. It's an avenue to experience and understand. Of course, there's embellishment, and they are like talking about things and boasting and stuff like that, and telling stories. But at the same time, I think it is a window into that world, and I think that's valuable. So yeah, Big L. This is a great album. I know it keeps not going out of focus, but check that out. Okay, next, Big Star. I think this is Big Star #1 record. This is for the uninitiated to Big Star. The song In the Street was used as the theme song to that 70s show. They're a 70s group, kind of a big pop sound. It's actually, you listen to this, it's amazing that they didn't make it big. I mean, this sounds tailor-made for rock radio in the 70s, but I guess maybe that like they just took some chances and did some different things, and like any kind of, unless you were established and bankable, going outside the box like that was just not, wasn't going to happen on the radio. Alex Chilton was I believe the principal songwriter and singer, vocalist, guitarist. He passed away, I want to say from cancer, not all that long ago. Maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, something like that. This is a really good album. This is really great. I mean, it's highly regarded. I bought this new, and this is actually like there was in 1972. This initially came out on Stax. Should go on like this. I bought this. There was a New Year's Eve where I went to Chicago to visit my friend Brendan, and he had a bunch of albums. He had just started getting into vinyl, and we listened to this one day. And I had heard this, but not like that and all that. So that convinced me to go out and buy it, that I needed to have this album. So I bought this pretty shortly after I started getting into vinyl. I bought a new copy of it, and I listened to it from time to time. It's really, really good. Good 70s pop rock, like some good licks, good riffs, big sounding. Highly recommended. This is one of the oldest records that I have that is not my parents'. This is Bridging the Gap by the Black Eyed Peas. And this was given to me at a Christmas, probably in the early 2000s, by my cousin Michael, randomly. I didn't have a record player. I like the Black Eyed Peas because I like their first album. This is pre-Fergie. In case you don't know, the Black Eyed Peas were a legitimate hip-hop group that were very good. And they had 2 albums. Well, the first one was Behind the Front. And then this one is Bridging the Gap. This is the second one. And then after that, they brought in Fergie and released, Let's Get Retarded and all those stupid songs that suck. But they were very good for the first 2 albums. So I think I had talked to my cousin Michael and told him I liked them. And he just went and got this from his room or something on Christmas Eve, and just said, "Here, go nuts, take it." I was like, okay. So this was on my wall. If you can see this tack hole, because I didn't have a record player. So when I was in high school, I just put this up on my wall like a decoration. It's featuring Macy Gray, but produced by DJ Premier, who is from Gangstar. It's 2 albums. I should listen to this because it is legitimately good. I know it's hard to believe that because they suck so much now, but their first 2 albums were great. They were legitimately great, and this is the second one, so I highly recommend that. So yeah, I've had that for a long time. This was my dad's, I believe. This is Paranoid by Black Sabbath, which is really a nice, cool gatefold here. With Ozzy on the right-hand side. This is, often considered, the first Black Sabbath, self-titled as well. A linchpin towards the history of heavy metal, the creation of heavy metal. War Pigs, Planet Caravan, Iron Man. All these songs are Fairies Wear Boots is awesome. It's really just kind of hard bluesy stuff. It's not terribly complex, but no one was really doing that. I guess there were other bands kind of around at the same time, like Blue Cheer and some other bands that were doing stuff kind of like this, but this was also on, it was on Warner Brothers, so this had major label distribution and everything. It was kind of the first big album that was kind of like heavy metal, and then, kind of went from there, but this is really a touchstone. This is from sorry for the glare there, this is from 1970. Album design and photography by Keefe. I'd like to look up who that is. I don't know what kind of shape this is on. I know it's kind of weird, but I've never actually put this on. You would think that, I don't know why. And by the way, the Warner Brothers album colors, this puke green, this baby food green. I don't know why they did that. It looks disgusting, but it looks like it's in great shape. That's the only Black Sabbath album I have, and I've often told my dad, that, because I was very much into Black Sabbath when I was into metal, when I was in my early to mid-teens. So I had this on CD. I still do somewhere, and I had a lot of their albums on CD. And I would talk to my dad. I knew he had this in the attic. I would go up and look at them sometimes, the albums, and I saw this one, and how, when the migration to CDs happened, he bought a lot of his favorite albums on CD, like Dark Side of the Moon, Darkness on the Edge of Town by Bruce Springsteen, trying to think, all the Beatles albums, and this one did not make the transition over to CD, so it's kind of funny that I can tell, he liked it then, but it didn't stick with him, and there's a lot of them like that. Moody Blues he did end up getting on CD, so some of that stuff he did end up converting. We just talked about these guys a little bit. Black Star, Most Def and Talib Kweli are Black Star. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. This is just unbelievable. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to this. And when I first got into vinyl, this was on the short list of must-owns. And at the time it was out of print. This came out in 1999 or 2000. 98. Actually, 98, 2014 is the re-release. So this was Modest Mouse's Lonesome Crowded West. There were a couple of them that I was like, I just have to get those at some point, however I can. And I was at Newbury Comics, I think this past fall, and just browsing, and I saw it, and I was like, you know, oh my god. So I just, that was what I bought that day. I knew that I had to get it right away. This is one of the greatest, forget about rap albums, I mean, this is one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, it's just so good. These guys are just, the beats are amazing. The way that they work within the beats, their lyrics, I mean, Mos Def and Talib Kweli are just, this is at them at the height of their powers, working together on this. And they never did a second album together. This is the only one. People have been waiting for it, although Mos Def seems to kind of be losing his mind at this point, which is unfortunate. He hasn't released an album in years. Every song, Astronomy, Redefinition, I mean, Brown Skin Lady, Respiration, Thieves in the Night, Twice in a Lifetime. I mean, every song is good, but like those ones are just like unparalleled. I just can't say enough about this. And it came with like this really cool lyric sheet. Well, it's not lyric sheet at all, actually. Sorry, it's like their notes about like the songs and what they mean to them and stuff like that. I think this is just the booklet that was in the CD, you know, writ large, which is awesome. I love when albums come with stuff like that. And then it's a one album thing, and it's actually, it's kind of colored, if you can see like the stars on it. So, yeah, just if you're looking for a place to start with, you know, late 90s, you know, just great hip-hop albums, just start here. Again, I could do a whole video about this album, so do that. Yeah, we're already running behind, and we've got a few more. I'll do 3 more for now. This is the Blind Faith album. This is the only album they put out. You see that it's kind of a super group with Clapton, Steve Winwood, who would later go on to be in, well, he might have been in it at this point. What year was this? 1969, Traffic. And then Ginger Baker from Cream, who is a maniac. I'd recommend watching the Beware of Mr. Baker film. Rick Gretsch. This is the alternate cover, you notice. The original cover on this had basically, I think, an underage girl who was like, you know, probably like 15, naked from, like, topless on the front. And it caused a lot of controversy. So this one, this is from my dad. He had this version. I'm sure they sold, you know, a second pressing of it. But this is a really, really good album, and they never did another album together. This was it was kind of a one-off thing, which is, you know, which is pretty cool. It was on Atco, so you see you can get all these great Atco records, like Ben E. King's Greatest Hits, and Bent Fabric, The Happy Puppy. Some of this shit, like, what is this? So Atco had like Bobby Darin. Like, look at, is this the only thing that they had? Buffalo Springfield. I've never heard of half this stuff. Yeah, I know who Bobby Darin is, you know, but like King Curtis, like, it's just like crap. Russell Banks is here. I don't know. It's just they have Blind Faith and then they have nothing else. Atco would later be the label of AC/DC, I think. And I want to say they had Pantera on there at first. It's good to have this encyclopedic memory of metal music that I never listen to anymore. But Blind Faith, that's great. Here's a band that I feel conflicted about. This is Blitzen Trapper. This is their album 7. Kind of a funny story about this. This came out a few years ago. They've had one since then. This is from 2013. There's the group. First of all, a couple things about this, but when I went to buy it, I went to Newbury Comics and I was like, "Do you have the new Blitzen Trapper record?" And he was like, "Let me look it up," because I didn't see it there. And he's like, "The album's called Vi, right?" And I'm like, "It's called Seven." I guess I don't blame him for making the mistake, but I thought it was kind of funny. But Blitzen Trapper, back in 2009, 10, 11, there were a bunch of bands that came out that I really liked at that point. Blitzen Trapper being one of them. Dawes, Delta Spirit, Deer Tick. They were kind of all like almost a collaborative. These guys, they all toured together and stuff like that. And actually, there was a super group called Middle Brother that was made up of members of Dawes, Deer Tick, and Delta Spirit. So they all were kind of cohabiting the same space. And then My Morning Jacket as well, which is obviously a different kind of thing, but I kind of lumped them in there too. And for those years, I loved these bands, listened to them constantly. And for whatever reason, the last couple of years, I've just really gotten out of it. I bought this, Blitzen Trapper in particular. Their first few albums are great. Their album Wild Mountain Nation is really good. The song Wild Mountain Nation, just listen to that. That'll melt your face off. It's amazing. And then, they kind of tailed off. They had an album called, was it Destroyer of the Void that was okay. And then American Goldwing was another one that was okay. And then this one came out, and my kind of theory is, like, I give you a couple chances, like, for me to stick with you. And, like, you put out a crappy album, okay, I'll stick with you for the next one, and if that one's crappy too, I'm out. And this one was kind of crappy. I mean, it was okay. Feel the Chill, I actually really do like that song. There's a couple songs on here I like, but, like, nothing to keep me around, so I think this is actually kind of my farewell to these guys. I mean, they put out a new album, I didn't buy it. If I hear another song and I like it, then I'll get back into it, but for now, this is my farewell to Blitzen Trapper at the moment, but I'll still listen to the old stuff because it's really good. And then this is the last one of today. This is Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I believe this is their, I don't know if this is their first, this might be their second album. I've never put this on. I think this was my dad's. I don't really know a whole hell of a lot about them. It's kind of one of those like 70s groups that like you've heard of and like they're kind of a big deal, but like you don't know anything about them. Like you don't know any of their songs. What songs do we even? Smiling more and more. God bless the child. Spinning wheel. You made me so very happy. I don't know. I don't know these songs. I should listen to this. Why not? I'll check it out. But I don't really know anything about Blood, Sweat, and Tears. All right. Rebirth, Regeneration, and Triumph. Blood, Sweat, and Tears. 9 musicians, vital and diverse. Their rich musical tapestries will stun you. Brash and exciting, their music is a wedding of rock and jazz. For you and for those who have waited so long with polished prose fancies, this album is a joy of vision and design, the freshest experience of its kind. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Look at this guy, like this big, fat guy. Whatever. They have like 15 dudes in the band. That's the way bands roll back then. So, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And I don't really know much about them. Every time I do one of these videos, I feel like I have to. I'm like, I have to listen to that, So that's it. We're going to do another bee video next time. And then finally, the bees will be done. So I will see you then.